gonna say. See if I can find a place for this camera. Having some trouble, but be careful when you. This has happened many times. Watch this. I didn't mean to toss that at her face, but right next to her is what I wanted, but that's alright. When I go in to touch a dog and they start to submit to my hand and to me walking toward them, dogs with a really strong prey drive, they have that killer in them. They see that split-second moment of weakness and they go in to attack that dog. So that's what Gracie, the French bulldog up there does all the time. I'll reach out to touch a dog, so I just wanted to show. Now she's intimidated because I've put her in line a few times. Ready? But I don't know exactly who that's relevant for, but just be aware. I found a way that it's relevant. If you're taking dogs, that's relevant, obviously, because you could know. If you're touching a dog, and they're submitting to you. You take on responsibility for protecting that dog. So I'm always on my P's and Q's. Always high alert when Gracie's gonna come up. Or when I'm going to touch a dog to make sure Gracie doesn't come up and attack. But that's relevant for people. Here's a situation. If you're going to ask your dog to sit down or behave you or mind you, and then you bring them right up to another dog, you better take responsibility for protecting your dog. Because if that dog takes advantage of them by trying to dominate them or attacks them, your dog will not trust you. And of course they won't. How could they trust you if they surrender to you and you put them in harm's way? So I see that a lot. Just the other day, someone was trying to introduce their dog to a dog that I was bringing out of a house. I was like, oh, okay. She was like, sit down. Making sure the dog would sit down and mind her and submit. But meanwhile, she wants her to come out and meet the female that I'm walking. They're both females. And they weren't like totally that friendly. So you need to be very, I just stopped just a little bit away and let them kind of smell each other out and do what they would naturally do from a distance with respect. She wanted them to get closer while having her dog sit down. It's just a bad cocktail when you mix them like that, because her dog's going to submit to her, and then the dog I'm with can see that as weakness and go in for an attack, or vice versa. Whoever's submitting. So if you ask your dog to submit, you take on the responsibility for protecting them. And if you're protecting them, don't bring them around dogs that you can't control, because including dogs at the dog park, because it's like, yeah, I want you to be a good boy, now go play with the gangsters, but be a good boy. What do you think they're gonna do to you if you're a good little boy? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. What do you think is gonna happen when you're a good little boy and they're not? You know what I'm saying? So how can if you're gonna tell them to be a good boy, you better keep them out of harm's way, and you go deal with the gangsters, or just don't bring them around. Obviously, is the better. Don't go around them. What I mean by the gangsters is the dogs who don't mean well for your dog, the dogs who don't want to do good to your dog, the dogs who, when your dog submits to you, see he's in a submissive state. Partially because I'm back here, I'm taking over the role of protector for them. So, that's what I mean, is when you ask your dog to go into a sensitive state, a weak state, which could be considered a weak state because they're giving up the protector side of them. Be a good boy, be good. And then you bring them around dogs that they don't care if they're good or not. They're going to get taken advantage of. So then, of course, they don't trust you. All of a sudden you have, my dog, he's great with the other dog, but he has problems on the leash. That's why he has problems on the leash. because he feels like he needs to protect himself. He needs to protect himself, or she needs to protect herself, because you've put her in situations where that's happened, probably, where you weren't aware. Hey, this dog's not sending me good vibes. Well, let's go meet him anyway. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to go meet the I shouldn't say homeless man. Anybody could become homeless. What I mean is, you want to go meet like the crazy dude who's super violent, probably on some drugs right now. Let's go meet him. It's like, no, now's not a good time. You don't want to meet him. You know, what if you introduced your kid to all those people, you know, who are gonna not be good people to introduce your kid to? What do? You keep your kid protected from them. And by the time, if your kid's strong enough and old enough, then you trust him on his own. But you're not telling him, hey, go be a little good boy around those people, you know? It's like, hey, stay out of trouble. In other words, get away from that. So, yeah, that's it.